I have never been asked, but I have asked. I was assigned to cover the maiden voyage of a gambling ship that goes to nowhere. And this is a thing in Florida where they sail out in international waters and then they turn on all the gaming machines because in international waters, gambling is legal. So you have these floating casinos going all around the coast of Florida. And St. Petersburg never had one, and they finally got one, and they assigned me to go on it. And I said, "Can I just go, not as a journalist? Can I just go as a person?" And they said, "No, you need to go and tell everybody who you are, and you can't do anything like that." Because I was curious to see how it worked without knowing that I was a journalist. But they said no. Now the hilarious part of this story is the newspaper I worked for had very strict ethical rules, and they gave me $50 to try some of the games out, and they said, "Don't come back with this money." And I sat down at a blackjack table and I got on a heater. And before I know it, I'd turned $50 that the newspaper had given me into $500. And so suddenly I'm like, oh crap, I got to get rid of this. So I start making just stupid bets. And some of them kept hitting. And then they were coming back to port and they turned off all the games. And here I am now holding $350. And I'm, gosh, what do I do? Like, I don't know what to do. Um, Ultimately, they ended up making me donate it to a scholarship fund, which I gave to a scholarship at this university in the name of a former professor of mine. In very limited circumstances, I think so, and it is a path fraught with a lot of peril. Um, there have been journalists who have gone inside certain institutions that are secure and you can't they're not the public can't just go watch what goes on in there. Most recent examples I can think of are there's been several authors that have gotten jobs as prison guards and have written about what it is like inside of a prison from the standpoint of a prison guard, because prisons have a hard time hiring people. It's a really tough job, and frankly, we need people to be prison guards. And the reason it's hard to hire is because it's a terrible job. And they wrote about that. You couldn't get a job just saying, "Hi, I'm a reporter for the New York Times. Give me a job as a prison guard." And they're going to be like, "Absolutely not." So the only way to tell that story is to do something like that. I think there are limits to what you can do. There's limits to how far you can go with that, and you got to be really careful with that. But there are a few circumstances like that where, in order to get the story, in order to inform the public, you kind of have to do that. Personally, I think any editor, any news organization has to think real long and hard. Is there literally no other way that we can get this? And if there is another way to do that, you have to do that first. The going undercover and concealing your identity, that is the last resort. I think where I would definitely draw a line would be, is my personal safety really at risk? I think real long and hard about the prison guard thing, but I think generally speaking, you'd be a little bit more safe. Would I go and try to get a job as like an Alaskan crab boat fisherman to see if that show on TLC is actually what it is, or Discovery? Probably not. That is literally one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. Um, but there's a long ways between most dangerous job in the world and something that you could do like that. That would be really difficult to do while telling everybody in the world that you're a journalist. I think there's a way to do it where you have to keep the lying is kept to a minimum. Like in ye olden times, you could make up an identity. Instead of Matt Waite, I could be, Mark White, and still get a job and still get paid. Now, with computers and employment databases, I would have to go there as myself. I would have to present my social security number so that I could pay taxes on this income. I would probably have to disclose that I had worked in newspapers before. Um, The only thing that I wouldn't be disclosing would be that, you know, ultimately I intend to write about it. That said, I think ethically, if you're a journalist, you have an obligation once you shift from I have been a prison guard or I have been a crab fisherman or whatever it is, you basically have to go back and say, oh, by the way, I was this person. I would like to talk to you on the record now about these things and fully disclose what I'm doing. Um, if you're not going to do that, you can't. I don't think you can, and honestly and ethically, write about it after that.